I feel like I've plateaued, I feel like my glutes aren't growing anymore. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. Poorly labelled workouts on Instagram. Ladies, do not be scared to grow your legs. You might actually prefer the way they look. Hello, welcome back for another video. So today I thought I would just run you through 5 reasons why you might not be seeing the glute gains, the glute progress that you are wanting to see. Main questions I seem to be getting asked are how to grow your glutes, or I feel like I've plateaued, I feel like my glutes aren't growing anymore. So I thought it would just be a good idea and a probably useful video to quite a lot of people to just do a quick 5 reasons why you might not be seeing the progress that you want to see with your glutes. I am going to make this a very accessible video for everyone so that everyone can understand it. I'm not going to throw in a load of sciencey terms, which I could if I wanted to, but I'm just not going to go there because I want it to be accessible information. But I do actually have a real passion for the why behind stuff and a real passion for the actual proper science behind glute training. So if you do want to see like a glute series from me where I could do videos on literally anything you want to know about glutes, a bitch will do it, then let me know in the comments and I will get drafting some video ideas, and let me know what videos you would want in that series that you would find useful. So reason number 1 why you might not be seeing the progress that you want to see is the elephant in the room. It's your nutrition. You can train balls to the wall, but if you are not eating towards your goals as well, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. So 2 things that you're gonna want to look at when it comes to your nutrition if you are looking to grow your glutes are 1, your protein intake. It is recommended to have 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight for muscle growth. So if you weigh 130 pounds, you would be looking at about 104 to 130 pounds of protein. If you do struggle to get your protein in through normal foods, there is nothing wrong with taking protein shakes. I take protein shakes. You do not need a really fancy extravagant protein shake. If you can have whey, I recommend you just get like the My Protein Impact Whey. It's one of the cheapest ones and it does what it says on the tin. It is what it needs to be. If you are a vegan or like me, you don't like having dairy, you're lactose intolerant and you can't have it, I recommend if you are going for a vegan protein powder to look for one that isn't just a soy protein, it isn't just a pea protein. Go for one that's got multiple sources of protein in. 2 that I have found that do that are the Ghost vegan protein has got multiple sources of plant protein in there, and the Protein Works one has also got multiple sources of protein in there from plant sources, which is much better than just going for one. If you are vegan, you do need to be a little bit more picky about where you are getting your protein sources from, looking for a shake. The other part of your nutrition that you're going to want to consider is your caloric intake. Now, if you are new to the gym or under other circumstances, you can gain muscle in a deficit. It's not impossible. I feel like it's made out on social media as though it's absolutely impossible, it's never going to happen. No, there are circumstances where it can happen, but if someone is wanting to grow their glutes, I would never recommend for them to eat in a calorie deficit. I don't think it's optimal for the vast majority of people. I would say you need to be eating at either maintenance or a slight surplus, which is also what the research suggests around this topic. So definitely look at your caloric intake and make sure you are eating at least maintenance if you are looking to grow some mass on your glutes. For me personally, I always like to be in a small surplus when I'm trying to build muscle. That's how I've always done it. I don't actually have any experience personally building muscle at maintenance, but I know it can be done. It just tends to take a little bit longer. But if you are going into a surplus, you do not need to go into a crazy surplus. On average, women, and I know that some men might watch this video wanting glute gains as well, but on average women can gain up to 1 pound of muscle per month. Now if you think about that, you do not need to be putting on a lot of weight every single week. It should be very, very gradual increases. Yes, you will inevitably gain a little bit of body fat but making sure it's a sensible surplus will limit the fat gains that occur during your gaining phase. Reason number 2 why you might not be seeing the progress that you want to see with your glute gains is you are not logging your lifts. Now, unless you have got an incredibly good memory, if you are not logging your lifts, there is a large chance that you are not going to remember what you were doing the week before, and that will hamper with your progressive overload, because if you don't know how many reps you were getting, if you don't know how many sets you did, if you don't know what weights you used for each set, how are you going to know if you're progressively overloading week to week? You can buy a logbook and write it out on paper if you want. For me personally, I just prefer to have it in a notes app on my phone. I write down the weeks. If it's week 1 of a block, I write down week 1. I write out all the lifts. I write out the number of sets, the number of reps, and the weights that was used. And something I also like to do is make a little note of how hard or how difficult I found it, so that when I go to it next week, I know, right, well, I was finding that quite easy next week, so I should be able to add more weight here. And I just find that really helps. If you are logging your lifts, if you are tracking your lifts, you can better manage your progressive overload and make sure that you are continuously challenging your muscles, which is what they need to grow. So reason number 3 why your glutes might not be growing is you are constantly chopping and changing your workouts and falling into the trap, which we all do. I did it when I first started going to the gym, of scrolling through Instagram, seeing your favorite influencers posting different workouts all the time, assuming that that's what they do and they change their workouts all the time, and copying that and not just sticking to a routine for a solid few weeks and focusing on progressive overload. The reason why this might be hindering your progress links back to point 2, is that you cannot progressively overload if you are changing your workouts day in, day out, week in, week out. If you are changing your workouts constantly, there's no way you are going to be progressively overloading, because you're not giving your body chance to do that. You are literally just chopping and changing workouts all the time. Another thing to be wary of when you are scrolling through Instagram is there are a lot of workouts that are labelled as, oh my god, do this and it's going to grow your glutes, and it might be a cardio workout. That is not the best way to grow your glutes. If you are a complete newbie to the gym, a complete beginner, you are going to see gains no matter what you do. You really don't need a fancy proper plan in place, and these circuit training style cardio workouts might actually elicit a little bit of growth for you, but I'm guessing the majority of people that are watching this video are coming to it because they've been training for a while and they've hit a plateau. Now, if you are constantly changing your workouts or following these poorly labelled workouts on Instagram, I strongly recommend that you just come off Instagram, stop copying what you're seeing, stop chopping and changing your workouts. Write yourself out a proper solid program that you're going to follow for at least a few weeks. Focus on progressively overloading, and that will be so much more useful to you than constantly chopping and changing your workouts because your favourite influencer has posted a new workout and it looks fun. Because often the exercises and the workouts that look fun, they look crazy, they look interesting, are often the ones that aren't actually going to be the best for getting you those glute gains and growing your muscles. I am telling you, progressive overload and just focusing on the basics are literally going to be your best friend in growing your glutes. Another reason why your glutes aren't growing is because you are hell bent on avoiding growing your legs. Now, this was me, and I don't know why, because I've always been quite insecure about my legs, but I was like, no, I just want to grow my glutes, not my legs, when I first started going to the gym. Let me get this straight. If you are someone who has already built up significant muscle in your legs, significant strength, and you then want to focus on just growing your glutes, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the people who literally from the get-go, they're like, I don't want to grow my legs at all, I literally just want to grow my glutes. The issue with this is you are not having enough variety in your glute workouts, in your training sessions, if you are so hell-bent on avoiding growing your legs. And you can grow your glutes alone to a certain extent without growing your legs. Now, speaking anecdotally here, when I first started going to the gym, I was like, yeah, I just want to grow my glutes, not my legs. I'm going to do like hip thrusts, I'm going to do kickbacks, I'm going to do cable work, I'm going to avoid squats, I'm going to avoid lunges, I'm going to avoid the leg press. And what ended up happening was, yeah, my glutes grew, but then I kind of plateaued for a very long time. And then I started thinking, actually, I want to get really strong at squats, I want to get really strong on the leg press, I want to focus on lunging, and I do want to build up my legs a bit. And when I made that change and started incorporating things like squats, lunges, the leg press, RDLs, things for my hamstrings as well, that is when I noticed some serious glute gains, because I had been avoiding a whole subset of exercises my entire time when I was training. I didn't know it, but I was kind of shooting myself in the foot when it came to glute gains. If you don't know about the rule of thirds for glutes, I'm just going to explain it very, very briefly. Brett Contreras came up with it, and he says a third horizontally loaded exercises, a third vertically loaded exercises, and a third lateral/rotary exercises. Now, if you have been hell-bent on trying to grow your glutes and not your legs, you will have probably focused mainly on vertical and lateral/rotary movements. So you are missing out a whole third of your training from the horizontal, because typically if people are wanting to just grow their glutes, they do abduction work, which is lateral/rotary. They do things like bridges, hip thrusts, kickback, pull throughs, which are all vertically loaded exercises, and they are missing out on squats, deadlifts, leg press, lunges, split squats, you name it. They've literally just omitted it from the training because they're so scared of growing their legs. Now, I know you see people like the Kardashians who have all of the ass in the world and not much legs. The ratios are crazy. That's from surgery, that's not from working out. So if you really do want to focus on growing your glutes and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you are that person who has always been hell-bent on no, just glutes, no legs, I would try incorporating some horizontally loaded exercises. So like I said, squats, lunges, leg press, split squats, stuff like that, deadlifts. Because when it comes to growing your glutes, variety is going to be key. You want to make sure you are working them through all of the thirds. You want to make sure you're working them from all angles to really max out the gains that you can get from your training. Ladies, do not be scared to grow your legs. You might actually prefer the way they look. Reason number 5 why your glutes might not be growing is a little bit of tough love, and you've just got to ask yourself, are you really giving your training your all? Are you really pushing yourself as much as you could be? If you are not putting that intensity into your lessons, if you are not putting that intensity and effort into your sessions, by the way, by that I don't mean you need to be in a pool of sweat by the end of your training. It's really not relevant for muscle growth, and you also don't need to be hobbling out of the gym. You just need to ask yourself, when you are doing your sets, are you really pushing yourself properly? Are you utilising progressive overload? Could you be training harder than you are now? One thing I would recommend for this, if you are not sure if you are pushing yourself properly, is maybe try out having a personal trainer. I had one for a few months, and whilst I wasn't that happy with the service I received necessarily, one thing I did learn that was really valuable was that I just wasn't training anywhere near intensely enough for the gains and the growth that I wanted to see. So sit yourself down, take a long hard look in the mirror and just say, am I actually giving this my all? Am I actually training with the intensity I need to be? Am I progressively overloading? Am I really pushing myself in my sessions? If the answer to that is no, then dial up the notch. And I don't mean start going balls to the wall straight away if you've been training at a relatively low intensity, because all that's going to happen then is your body is not going to react very well to that. You're going to need a lot of recovery, and you will probably end up getting less volume in the week because you're going to have to miss sessions because you're too sore and your body can't recover, or your other sessions won't be as high of an intensity as they could be or as they should be because you're too sore to push for it. So if you're currently training at a much lower intensity, slowly dial that up, slowly dial up the volume, slowly dial up the weights you're using, slowly dial up your perceived rate of exertion. Say you're working at a 5 currently. Over the next few weeks you might want to dial that up to like an 8 out of 10. And just make sure that you are pushing yourself, logging those lifts, progressively overloading. Those are just 5 reasons. It's not an exhaustive list. There are probably more reasons, but one thing I want to end this video on is, if you are doing everything that I've spoken about in this video, the chances are you are probably just not being patient enough. Muscle growth takes a long time. I know you see those crazy 8-week glute gain transformations on Instagram. Really, that's obviously not an 8-week difference. The person looks 14 in the first picture and in the second picture they look 20. That's not 8 weeks, that's 6 years. And when you consider that women can gain on average up to 1 pound, and I say up to 1 pound because it might not be 1 pound of muscle a month, these 8-week transformations start looking hella sketchy. Fat loss is much quicker. You can see much quicker results with fat loss than you can with muscle growth. It's a much longer game. It takes a very long time. It's taken me about 3 to 4 years to build up significant muscle in my glutes and my legs. Be patient, be consistent. That is literally the key to getting anything you want. It goes for anything in life. Patience and consistency will normally get you a long way. And another reason why you really shouldn't be comparing yourself to people on social media is genetics. People do not talk about this enough. Having poor genetics does not mean that you can't gain any muscle at all. I don't think there's anybody in the world that has such poor genetics that means that even if they do everything right, they wouldn't build any muscle. I don't think that's the case, but genetics play a huge role in how easily you gain muscle, how quickly you gain muscle. They are so often overlooked, and especially with glutes, your genetics are going to play a big role in the size that you can grow your glutes to, as well as how your glutes are actually going to look. I know that everyone tends to want like a really round, like round hips, round glutes. That's not going to be possible for everyone. You have to work with what you've got. You can build on your frame, but you cannot change your frame. You cannot change your genetics. So do not compare yourself to other people on social media. I promise you, if you are getting everything right, your glutes will grow. You just got to be patient, be consistent, and don't compare your journey to anybody else's. Ooh, okay, so I'm gonna leave that video there. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, then give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in having a glute series, then let it go know, because I love talking about glutes. I don't know if you can tell. So yeah, subscribe if you want to and you haven't already, and definitely follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of workouts on there, which I don't recommend you use all of them, because again, you need to be sticking to the same training routine. If you are in a bit of a rut and you ever need advice, you can always drop me a message. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this video here. Thank you for watching. Bye.